Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes. Tonight I'm joined by Chris McElwain, Kevin McCluskey and Sean Connolly. It's half-time and it's scoreless. Sean, you didn't get a chance to speak before the game, so dive right in. What did you make of that first 45?
I'm just so glad I got out of my bed at 4 a.m. to watch that. Yeah, it was not a great half of football. I was like just thinking, yeah, it's always poor after an international week kind of thing. But then I was like, yeah, that's fair. But then also, none of the midfield three were on international duty this week, so they should be showing a lot more energy than they are. Taneke wasn't away; he should be showing a bit more. And the rest of them, what this two Scottish boys, they look hungover still, which is not really that much of a surprise. But yeah, St Mirren have had arguably more time to prepare because they've had their squad together. They've got the hostile crowd on their side. They've shown a lot more energy, a lot more physicality. Only two chances really in the half. Both have went St Mirren's way. One should score, one hits the post. And we've not really offered anything, to be honest. There was a Taneke cut inside and sent one into the stands, and Johnny Kenny sent one even further into the stands when he sliced it, and that's about the sum of chances for both teams, I reckon. I don't think there's really been much else happening. You couldn't really pick a best on ground for Celtic at the moment. I don't know that anyone's elevated their performance above average or even to average. But on the bright side, it's still 0-0, and we've got another 45 minutes. So that's the only positive I can take from it.
Yeah, particularly in the last 2.5 seasons, we have been very careful, Kevin McCluskey, not to go overboard at half time, because we have seen this so many times. First half, really, really poor. Then we come out and we win the game in the second half. But I've got to say, Jamie Murphy comes in with a comment here. It's hard to disagree with this. Brutal performance so far. I mean, we're not crossing the ball. We're not taking shots. It's been pretty brutal, like Jamie says there. In terms of that first half performance, Kevin, give me something to hold on to. Give me something positive, because what I'm seeing at the moment is a team devoid of the momentum and the bounce that we had been talking about in the first 3 domestic games since Martin O'Neill came back. I mean, he cut a frustrated figure going up that tunnel at half time when, as Chris mentioned, they were singing the Martin O'Neill song, but they were singing it with different lyrics, and they've changed it to Sack the Board. I don't think it had anything to do with that. It was because that performance was just, there was nothing in it, really, was there, to write home about?
No, there wasn't. I'd love to give you something positive to hang on to for the second half, but to copy the famous Mick McCarthy interview, it can't get any worse than this, can it? Well, it can. That was a dreadful first half of football. Sean's summed it up perfectly with the last little comment there, which is basically the only bright side is that it's 0-0 and we're still in it, because we have been dreadful. There's been no energy. There's been no aggression from our side. There's been no cutting edge. There's no one been willing to take a man on. I had a bit of word written down for that, sorry, but there's just been no inventiveness in the team at all. No one's been able to take a risk. That's what I was going to say. It's just been, everything's been very safe and stodgy in the play. And it's just not been good enough. Give Saints a bit of credit, though, to be fair. Like, they have been aggressive. They have pressed as well. They have made it difficult for us to play, but at the same time, they haven't had to be great to do that. We've just not been at the races at all. And I think maybe the only one thing I would disagree with Sean is I think there was maybe a third chance that St Mirren had right at the end when there's that Stramash at the edge of the box, and then Freckleton, I think it is, fires it over. We could easily be looking at being 1 or 2-0 down at half time and have no complaints about the scoreline. It's been pretty dreadful. So I'm sorry, Paul. I don't have anything really positive for you other than it's 0-0. We're still in it. And you've got to hope that Martin O'Neill can use his words of inspiration over the next 10-15 minutes and get the boys fired up to come out for the second half.
The thing is, Kevin, when I sit at half time after a performance like that, I always think, right, how can we put this right? How can we get the win here? We've got 45 minutes. And I look at a St Mirren side and we know what they're good at. Chris was talking about Stephen Robinson. This is what he does with teams. He goes to Motherwell, he goes to St Mirren. He absolutely maximises what they can do against teams like Celtic. They play really high up the pitch. They've pressed us. They are aggressive. They've got the physicality in their team. You've got a guy in Gogic who I think's playing centre half, but he's running the midfield. We've had no answer to somebody like that. And we've seen that happening before. And you're saying, right, where's your physicality in the midfield? The only guy with any natural physical presence is Engels, and he's been nowhere. He's been anonymous in the first half. Callum McGregor, he's reverted back to the Callum of old. Rio Atati's losing the ball too often. He's not created a single chance. I mean, we could sit here and criticise Johnny Kenny. I think 3 or 4 times he's had a chance of a touch of the ball. It's not as if he's had a chance other than the one where obviously fluffs his lines. It was a half chance. The ball's running away from goal at the time. So, Chris, I look at the first half and I think we're all of the view. We don't have to keep going on about how bad it is. Everybody's seen it with our own eyes. It's all about, right, okay, how do we put this right? How do we look at the bench? How do we go in the second half and actually change this? Because personnel changes are one thing. You could hook half the team at half time, Chris. What do we do in the second half?
I'm just remembering back to the pre-match where we said we'll take our mind off all the negativity by watching a bit of football. That didn't quite work out. No, look, an extremely abject performance from I would say that the majority, if not all, of the Celtic players. I agree with the guys. I think St Mirren are doing what they need to do. They're beating us on areas all over the park. I think Kevin might have summed it up with what he said. We need somebody to take a risk. Now, I've been a big advocate for Tunekte. He himself has spoken about being a player who wants to get the fans off their seats by going and taking his man on. Well, he's not doing it tonight. Tonight, what he's doing is he's cutting inside, he's running across the byline, he's passing it. Get to the byline, get to corner flag, and cross the ball in. The only crosses I've seen coming in so far have actually came from Tierney. Tierney from deep. So we're not creating enough chances. We're not taking our man on. We're not creating enough opportunities, and we're certainly not being brave enough on the ball. And I think we have to stop being bullied, quite frankly. Bully seems to be the operative word this week, but we need to stop being bullied because Mirren are bullying us all over the park, and it's extremely, extremely poor. We need to do the basics. You mentioned Engels was anonymous. The one thing I can recall Engels doing in this match was a completely unnecessary little backflip, which deprived us of potential shooting opportunity. Do the simple, fundamental things right. That's the first thing we need to do. When you look at the bench and you're looking for a bit of inspiration, or even just someone that can take a bit of control. You look to Bernardo. It's barely been featured this season. I don't know. That's a lot of trust to put in a player that we've not really been able to evaluate much. You look at McCowan, maybe gives a bit of grit and a bit of attacking impetus, possibly. Nygren is a man who can carve chances sometimes out of nothing. So there are certain options there. But I think fundamentally, what's missing for me is attitude tonight. We need the players to show a bit more of a fight, a bit more of a fight in their attitude, a bit more nastiness in their attitude. Stop being bullied off the ball. Stop being bullied in areas of the park that you're supposed to control. So, yeah, for me, it just comes down to basic fundamentals. We're supposed to have the better players. They need to go out there and show it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking leadership on and off the park, and tonight there's been a distinct lack of it on show. I'm going to bring in as many of these comments as I possibly can. I'm going to start off with Graceful Shambles. Sounds like a band name. Luke on the second half. Remember, he did that on the first day of the season. Luke McCowan looked like a team of strangers. Yeah, there's no cohesion, there's no fluidity. All of these things that I mean, do we look like the champions, Sean? I mean, what's happened to the basics, the confidence of knowing how to get things over the line, knowing how to go to St Mirren on a Saturday night, a cold Saturday night, and getting a result? You don't lose that overnight. You don't even lose it when you lose one or two players. That we seem almost as if we're passive, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. There's just a complete lack of intensity from, and like I said, you would expect it from the Scotland players, for example, the Scotland internationals, but there's just so many players there. There's 4 or 5 players that were not on international duty, and you just don't expect that from them. You expect a bit more from them, and particularly Callum McGregor. He needs to show a bit of leadership. He needs to be the one that, and he's done it in the past. So like it's within him to do it. He's stepped up and he's shown a bit of drive. And it just worries me that the St Mirren midfield is, as you said, Gogic and Phillips are very physical. So it worries me that our midfield's just a bit scared when they're the ones that should be showing the energy and taking responsibility. The commentator there mentioned Luke McCowan. Again, I was looking at the bench and there's 3 centre mids on the bench, which is, I guess, speaks to the squad construction as well, and that the only the only area on the pitch where we've had players that weren't on international duty was at the centre midfield. And then looking at the bench, the 3 players that could come on that stand out the most are all centre midfielders. So we're well served in centre midfield, but just nowhere else. Like you might say Colby Donovan might give us a bit more energy down the wing. But honestly, in terms of specifics, it's not really inspiring to make any changes. And you're kind of thinking, right, if McGregor can lift it, inspire other people, and these players that are on the pitch that are starting, it looks on paper it's a good 11, but they're not playing well today. So they need to raise it, and that starts with McGregor, I think.
Yeah, you've got Janecki down the left, and I agree with Chris. He's had plenty of the ball, but he seems intent to turn back. I've not seen him hitting the line. He's got this habit. He takes on a play, takes on another one, and then he runs into danger, and then he's just kind of like crowded out. So he's been pretty ineffective, but he's been more effective or more involved anyway than Dice Maeda, Kevin McCluskey. And then, of course, I think Kenny, although I was being fair to him, he has had a few opportunities and basically just lost the ball. There was one thing in the first half he did pretty well where he's dropped deep and he stacked an attack by bringing the ball down, passing it to Rio, and then trying to get back in the box. Other than that, non-existent. So in terms of personnel changes, looking at the substitutes there, do we make one or two? Are we bold at half-time, Kev? Do we change the shape? What do you think we should do at half-time here?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't think Martin will change the shape. I think we'll stick with the 4-3-3. I also wouldn't be surprised if it's the same 11 that come back out for the second half, but they'll have had a rollicking from O'Neill. Few choice words and a couple of ear holes, I would think, because there's been quite a few players that have underperformed, and one of them that you mentioned there, Maeda, for me, I don't like to say it about anyone in a Celtic jersey, but he's been a waste of a jersey tonight. He's never looked like he wants to do anything. It's always been the simple and the safe option with him tonight rather than trying to take his man on. But I don't think he'll make changes at halftime. I think he'll give them a little bit. That one go out and win us the game in the first 10 minutes of the second half. If not, there will be changes. But like the lads have said, looking to the bench, you're not really inspired by who's there. I think it's like for like changes that we have to make because of who's on the bench. So Negrin, McCowan can come in to replace Hatate and Engels. Balikwisha, Yang, Shin, any of them to come on to replace any of the front 3, but you're basically just taking one out, one in. It doesn't really change us. And I don't know that we've really got the options with who's there to change shape, to go to the 3-5-2 that we've done before or try anything different. So I think we're kind of hamstrung by what's available, and it will be a bit of let's go again, but hopefully a bit more intensity. And like Sean said, Callum's shown before that he's got the leadership skills. This is another evening when he's got to prove it once again. He's got to stand up and do that. Kieran Tierney's got to stand up and do that, although he has played decent. But we're looking at those guys today to do something just to drag us through. And as much as I said it was going to be 3-1 before the game, I will now very much happily settle for Chris's scrappy 1-0 victory.
Well, I go back to the first day of the season. Sun is shining. You're full of optimism for the season ahead, and we struggled against St Mirren. Remember, we had a goal chopped off that Callum McGregor scored. We then relied on Luke McCowan to come in. McCowan likes to take shots and ask questions of the defence. He does. Negrin has got more goals and assists than anybody else in the squad. There is an option there. And I just wonder if we will make the personnel changes, because the rocket is one thing, but sometimes you've just got
McCowan is on.
He's on. I'm not surprised. Who's he replaced, Sean?
I don't know. Hatate's coming out, so it's either Engels or McGregor.
Johnny Kenny.
Kenny. So we're changing shape.
Maybe, I don't know. Sorry, I can't tell. Oh, yeah, it's Johnny Kenny. Sorry, yeah, Johnny Kenny.
So Maeda
So
and
Maeda through the middle.
McKeown, he can play it there. I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. And by the way, Dyson's a shadow of his former self at the moment. So get him through the middle. And hopefully we can recharge the second half. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. 2,500 watching the half-time bulletin. And hopefully there's more smiley faces near the end of this game, because we will be back at full-time. Go and enjoy the second half. And join us at full-time on a Celtic State of Mind.